If you were suddenly arrested with no explanation in front of your friend's family, what would they think you had done? Script 1. I was at Target, sneaking snacks into my bag when 2 cops showed up. "Sir, step outside," one said. My buddy later texted, "Dude, arrested for Kit Kats? Bold move." My mom thought it was a mix-up. Nope, just me risking it all for chocolate. Script 2. At karaoke night, cops stormed in and pointed at me. "Let's go," they said. My friend yelled, "It's the library fines, isn't it?" Another added, "Or the time he sang Bohemian Rhapsody too loud." I didn't even know what I was being arrested for. Probably both. Script 3. The cops cuffed me at the farmer's market, right in front of everyone. My girlfriend screamed, "Is this about the time you jaywalked?" Some guy muttered, "Probably stole an avocado." Honestly, I wish it was something that cool. Script 4. They arrested me mid-run, right in the park. "What did I do?" I asked, confused. A teenager yelled, "Probably streaking." My friends would totally believe that too. Turns out I just had unpaid parking tickets. Go figure. Script 5. I was mowing my lawn when 2 cops walked up. "Turn off the mower and come with us," one said. My neighbor shouted, "Finally got caught breaking the HOA rules, huh?" Joke's on him. I was arrested for unpaid tolls, not my untrimmed hedges. Script 6. I got pulled over and the cop said, "We've got a warrant for your arrest." My mom's first guess? "You forgot jury duty, didn't you?" My roommates? Tax evasion. Nope. Turns out I forgot to pay a $20 parking ticket. Script 7. It was karaoke night at the local dive bar, my usual Tuesday ritual with friends, when the cops burst in and made a beeline for me. At first I thought they were responding to some drunk idiot starting a fight, but then I saw one pointing directly at me. "Sir, you need to come with us." I froze mid-sip of my drink. My buddies, all mid-chorus to a painfully off-key rendition of Sweet Caroline, immediately went silent, jaws dropping. "What did you do?" one of them finally blurted out. I had no clue what to say. My roommate Ryan, the smartass of the group, piped up, "Bet it's about those library fines, dude. I told you they'd catch up with you." He wasn't entirely wrong. I did have fines from 3 different states, but come on, would they really send cops for overdue books? As I was cuffed and let out, the crowd erupted into chatter. Some guy in the back shouted, "Nice try, FBI," and someone else yelled, "Finally got caught hacking the Pentagon, huh?" The cherry on top was when my best friend James yelled after me, "It's okay, man. Tell them about the treasure map." If only they knew I was just as confused as they were. Script 8. I got arrested at the dog park. "You stole a puppy, didn't you?" my friend shouted. A random guy chimed in, "Or didn't pick up after your dog." Truthfully, it was an old warrant for a ticket I forgot to pay. The dogs? All innocent. Script 9. I was sitting on my porch with a fresh cup of coffee, watching the neighborhood kids race their bikes up and down the cul-de-sac, when a blacked-out SUV rolled up. 2 men in suits got out, flashing badges that looked like something out of a bad spy movie. "Are you my full name?" one of them asked. My stomach dropped as I nodded, and before I knew it I was being cuffed in front of the entire block. My nosy neighbor Mrs. Chambers stood frozen at her mailbox, clutching her letters like they were the only thing grounding her to reality. "What's this about?" I managed to ask, but all they said was, "We'll explain later." As they loaded me into the car, I saw my other neighbor Jim shaking his head in disappointment. Later, I'd hear that he told everyone at the block party that he always suspected I was secretly working for the Russians. My family, on the other hand, would probably assume it was something stupid like jaywalking or taking too many samples at Costco. And honestly, I wish it had been. Whatever was happening, it felt way bigger than me. Script 10. Cops grabbed me during the farmer's market. My girlfriend panicked. "Was it the sample cookie you took twice?" Someone yelled, "Probably a stolen cantaloupe." Nope, just a ticket from years ago that I forgot about. The cantaloupe remains at large. Script 11. The sirens were blaring before I even realized they were for me. I'd been sitting in my car outside a 7-Eleven, scarfing down a taquito, when the squad car boxed me in. I barely had time to swallow before 2 officers were banging on my window, telling me to step out. "What's this about?" I asked, but they weren't giving answers. As they cuffed me right there in the parking lot, a group of teenagers hanging around the entrance whipped out their phones to film it. "Yo, what did he do? Robbed the place or something?" one of them asked, laughing. My mind was racing. I didn't even buy anything. I used the self-checkout to grab a drink, and the taquito was from my glove box. Meanwhile, my phone was blowing up with texts from my mom. If she found out about this, she'd probably assume it was because of the time I ran a red light and forgot to pay the ticket. My friends would have other theories. Zach would definitely joke that I was arrested for smuggling snacks into movie theaters again. And as much as I wished this was some mix-up, the way the cops were acting made me think otherwise. Script 12. The cops dragged me out of Taco Bell. My friend said, "Dude, is this about smuggling burritos into the movies?" My girlfriend screamed, "You didn't pay for extra guac, did you?" Turns out it wasn't guac-related, just a mix-up with my name. Script 13. I knew I was screwed the second the cops walked into my bank. I work as a teller, so it's not uncommon to see officers stroll in for a coffee, but these 2 weren't here for small talk. One of them locked eyes with me and motioned for me to step away from the counter. "What's going on?" I asked, but he just said, "You're under arrest." The whole place went silent. My manager Cheryl was frozen mid-pour with a pot of burnt coffee in her hand. One of the regulars, old Mr. Daly, muttered, "Knew something was off about him." The worst part was that I had no idea what they thought I'd done. My coworkers were all whispering as I was let out, but I could already imagine what they'd say later. Cheryl would probably tell everyone I was caught embezzling funds, and Mike, the new guy, would go on about how he knew I was too good at counting bills. My mom, though? She'd immediately think it was a mistake and start ranting about how her baby would never do anything wrong. Meanwhile, I was just trying not to throw up in the back of the squad car. Script 14. I was fishing when a boat of cops pulled up. "You're under arrest," they said. My buddy whispered, "Is this about the time you borrowed that kayak?" Another joked, "Probably caught too many fish." Nope, wrong guy entirely. Script 15. I was mid-sentence, arguing with a customer about the difference between used and new conditions for a gaming console when 2 officers walked into the Best Buy. They scanned the room, locked eyes on me, and headed straight over. "You need to come with us," one of them said. I couldn't believe it. My manager stood there slack-jawed, clutching a box of HDMI cables. "Is this about the price match thing? I told you corporate doesn't allow it anymore," I half joked. But neither officer cracked a smile. As they cuffed me, one of my coworkers, Kyle, whispered, "Dude probably hacked the Pentagon or something." That's the kind of reputation you get when you're the go-to IT guy for your group of friends. My parents, however, would think this was about taxes. My dad had been bugging me to file properly for years, and my mom would probably assume I'd forgotten entirely. Either way, walking out of the store with everyone staring at me was mortifying. I didn't know what was worse, the mystery of what I was being arrested for, or knowing that Kyle was probably texting the group chat, spinning this into some crazy conspiracy. Script 16. I was at Costco, sampling the free cheese for the 3rd time, when 2 officers approached. "Sir, you need to come with us," one said. The sample lady gasped. "Was it the grapes you snuck earlier?" My friends would have blamed the cheese. Honestly, same. Script 17. It started as the most normal Saturday afternoon. My girlfriend and I were at the farmer's market, picking out vegetables for dinner, when 2 cops approached us. At first, I thought they were going to ask if we'd seen someone, or if they were just patrolling the area. But no, they were there for me. "Are you my full name?" one of them asked, his hand already on his cuffs. I froze, clutching a bag of tomatoes. Yeah, why?" I stammered, my voice cracking. "You're under arrest. Turn around." The officer's words hit me like a brick. My girlfriend dropped her basket of apples, her face a mix of confusion and shock. "Wait, what? What's going on?" she demanded, stepping toward them. But they didn't answer. As they cuffed me right there in the middle of the market, people started gathering around, whispering and pointing. I could hear snippets of their conversations. "What did he do?" one guy murmured. "Maybe drugs," another woman whispered. "He doesn't look like a criminal," someone else chimed in. My girlfriend, ever the practical one, tried to reason with them. "This has to be a mistake. He's not that type of person." I could see her mind racing. She probably thought it was something ridiculous, like unpaid parking tickets or jaywalking. My mom, if she found out, would probably assume it was a misunderstanding with some tax form or government mix-up. She's always joked about how I'm terrible at keeping track of paperwork. But then there were my friends, who I knew would be absolutely convinced I'd done something stupid. Mike would joke that I probably tried to smuggle a kitten out of a shelter or rescue a dog from a bad owner. He wouldn't be completely wrong. I've done stuff like that in the past, but I've never gotten caught. My buddy Jake, though, he'd swear this was the government coming after me for some offhand comment I made at a party about the IRS being a glorified loan shark. I could already imagine the memes they'd start making in the group chat. The drive to the station was surreal. I sat in the back of the squad car, the officer's radio crackling with static, my mind racing. Did I miss a court summons? Did someone steal my identity? Or was this just a colossal mistake? All I could think about was how my girlfriend was probably texting everyone we knew, trying to figure out what the hell had just happened. The officer finally spoke, breaking the silence. "You know why we're taking you in, right?" he asked, glancing at me in the rearview mirror. No, not a clue," I replied. He just shook his head, muttering something under his breath. By the time we pulled into the station, I felt like I was in some alternate reality. They led me into a small, cold room with a single table and chair. "Wait here," one of them said before closing the door behind him. I sat there, staring at the walls, trying to piece together what could possibly be happening. My mind went back to the library fines I never paid, the one time I argued with a parking enforcement officer, the stupid jokes I made about the government. But none of it made sense. And that was the scariest part. I had no idea what I was being accused of. Script 18. I was halfway through assembling the IKEA monstrosity my girlfriend insisted we needed when the pounding on the door startled both of us. She glanced at me, puzzled, and then opened the door. 2 cops stood there looking serious. "We need you to come with us," one of them said, motioning toward me. My girlfriend immediately started asking questions. What was this about? Did they have the wrong person? But the officers ignored her. As they cuffed me in our living room, she was nearly in tears, her mind racing. Knowing her, she probably thought I got caught up in some financial scam or unpaid parking tickets. My mom would assume it was for something ridiculous like jaywalking. But the truth? I had no clue what I'd done. The IKEA manual fell off the couch as they escorted me out, and all I could think was how I wouldn't even get to finish building that stupid shelf. Script 19. The cops showed up at my doorstep, cuffs ready. My mom yelled, "What did you do now? Forget another tax form?" Meanwhile, my roommate was laughing. "It's the 6 pounds of gummy bears, isn't it?" Turns out, wrong address, classic mix-up. Script 20. We were out on the lake, a perfect sunny afternoon, with beers in hand and fishing lines cast, when the sheriff's boat pulled up out of nowhere. My friends and I exchanged glances, confused, but then they called my name. "You need to come with us," the deputy said. My best friend Tom tried to play it off, joking, "What? Did you catch too many fish without a license?" But when they started cuffing me, the jokes turned into stunned silence. My other buddy, Brian, looked like he'd seen a ghost. "You didn't actually steal that golf cart last summer, did you?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. I hadn't. At least I didn't think I had. My family would probably think I'd been busted for my unpaid parking tickets. My dad loved to lecture me about responsibility. As the boat pulled away, leaving my friends gawking, all I could do was stare at the water and wonder what kind of nightmare I'd just been dragged into. Script 21. It was the middle of a lazy Sunday morning, and I was still in my pajamas when there was a loud knock at the door. My roommate opened it, and 2 officers asked for me by name. "Is this some kind of prank?" I asked, laughing nervously. But the look on their faces said otherwise. "You're under arrest," one of them said, pulling out handcuffs. My roommate, still holding his bowl of cereal, blurted out, "Oh man, is this about the time you hacked into your high school's Wi-Fi to change your grades? I told you that'd catch up with you." The officers didn't respond, which only made the situation more surreal. My mom would think it was some kind of mix-up. She's always said I'm too much of a rule follower to ever get in real trouble. My friends, though, they'd probably assume I finally snapped at someone for cutting in line at Starbucks. As I was led down the hallway in fuzzy slippers, my neighbor peeked out and gasped, "I always knew there was something sketchy about you." Great, just great. Script 22. I was at work, helping a customer find the right paint color, when the cops walked in. At first I thought they were just browsing or something, but then they made a beeline for me. "You're under arrest," one of them said, pulling out the cuffs. My co-worker, Anna, who was stacking paint cans nearby, dropped everything and gasped. "Oh my God, did you finally lose it and throw a can of paint at Karen yesterday?" she whispered. Karen, the nightmare customer from the day before, had been screaming at me about a discount. But no, I hadn't thrown anything, tempting as it was. My dad would probably assume it was something related to taxes, and my mom would jump straight to identity theft or some bureaucratic mix-up. Meanwhile, my little brother would just laugh and say, "Told you your jokes about the IRS weren't funny." As the officers led me out, I couldn't help but notice the customer I was helping recording the whole thing on his phone. Fantastic. This was going viral. Script 23. I got hauled off at the post office. My girlfriend shouted, "Is this about the mattress tag you tore off last week?" Some guy in line joked, "Or the stamps he stole?" Nope, just a bench warrant for forgetting to pay a speeding ticket. Script 24. At the bowling alley, cops grabbed me mid-game. "Finally busted for all those gutter balls?" my buddy yelled. "Or was it the nachos you swiped from the next lane?" Turns out I'd matched the description of some other guy. They let me go. Script 25. I was on my daily run through the park when I saw the flashing lights. At first I didn't think it was for me. I wasn't doing anything wrong. But then the officer shouted, "Stop where you are!" I froze, confused, as they hopped out of their cruiser and walked toward me. "You're coming with us," one said. I started laughing, thinking this had to be a prank. "What, did someone call in a report about a runner not picking up after their dog?" I joked, but they weren't amused. As they cuffed me, a group of teenagers walking by started pointing and laughing. "Probably streaking," one of them yelled. My friends would absolutely run with that idea. They've teased me for jogging shirtless when it's hot out. My mom, though? She'd assume it was something wholesome, like accidentally jogging through a restricted area. As they drove me away, I stared out the window, wondering what kind of Kafkaesque nightmare I'd stumbled into. Script 26. I was at Starbucks when 2 cops walked in and pointed at me. "You're coming with us," one said. The barista whispered, "Was it the free refills thing?" A guy in line added, "He looks like he'd pirate movies." Turns out they had the wrong guy entirely. Script 27. They cuffed me in the middle of trivia night. My friend yelled, "I told you not to argue with the host." Another joked, "Bet he stole the winning answer sheet." In reality, it was an unpaid fine for a parking ticket I forgot existed. Script 28. I'd just finished a long shift at work and was walking to my car in the dimly lit parking garage when I heard someone call my name. I turned around to see 2 cops heading toward me, their boots echoing off the concrete. At first, I thought it was a prank. My coworkers had been known to mess with me before, but when they pulled out their badges and told me to put my hands behind my back, I realized this was no joke. "What's going on?" I asked, my voice bouncing off the walls. "We have a warrant for your arrest," one of them said. My stomach dropped. "What? For what?" They didn't answer, just turned me around and cuffed me right there in the middle of the garage. I couldn't even see if anyone else was around to witness the humiliation. My mind went into overdrive, trying to figure out what they could possibly think I'd done. My manager's voice echoed in my head. "You've been working too hard lately. Take a break." I almost laughed bitterly at the thought. Yeah, working too hard. That's definitely a crime. My parents would probably freak out. My mom would assume it was some ridiculous clerical error, or that I'd been mistaken for someone else. My dad, though? He'd be convinced I got into some stupid road rage incident, even though I've only ever honked my horn twice in my entire life. Then there were my friends. I could already imagine the conspiracy theories they'd come up with. Jake would swear I'd been arrested for pirating movies. He loves to bring up that one time in college when I downloaded an old game off a sketchy website. My roommate, Kevin, would probably joke that I finally got caught putting my vegetables through his carrots at the self-checkout. "Dude, I told you it wasn't worth the extra $2, he'd say. The cops didn't say much during the drive to the station, but my mind wouldn't shut up. What if someone had stolen my identity? What if they thought I was involved in something illegal because of my job? Working in IT, people always assume you're some kind of hacker. I couldn't help but replay every little thing I'd ever done that could even remotely get me in trouble. That one time I jaywalked? The parking ticket I forgot to pay? None of it added up. When we got to the station, they led me into a sterile-looking room and sat me down. "You're going to tell us everything," one of the officers said, leaning over the table. I stared back at him, trying to keep my composure. "I'd love to, but I have no idea what you're talking about." The silence that followed was deafening.